Hey everybody, Dr. Lee Burge here. Coming to you live today again, talking about change, since that seems to be a big topic in the world the last few weeks especially. To start out with, just want to welcome you. Thanks if you're watching live, and thanks also if you're watching on replay. I appreciate the watch. Go ahead and drop a hello, a wave, or a replay in the comments to let me know when you are watching. And again, I'm trying to do a better job of acknowledging questions and comments as they come up live, but it's the technology, and people my age sometimes can be a little challenging, so bear with me on that part. To start off today, I was just going to start off with a little story about my daughter. She left last week to go to a historical site for the summer to give tours, and they're not open yet, so before it's safe to open, they're basically just there and practicing. And so as she's being trained in how to give these tours, the person who is training them lets them know that, there's all this historical information that they need to share with people on their tour, but there's also these key principles that, sort of draw people in. They're more personal, and as they're giving the tour, it makes people, be able to relate to the site. So the tour is only 30 minutes, and the person who's training them said, that there's 3 principles, but you probably will only have time to work 2 of the 3 principles into your tours. You just kind of play by ear and see how it goes. You don't want to overwhelm people with information. And so my daughter's telling me this story, and she's in the room with the rest of the people who she's training with as she's talking to me. And so she's telling the story, and then at this point in the story, she leans forward and she looks straight into the camera, and in a whisper voice, she says to me, "I'm pretty sure I can work in all 3. So, I started chuckling, and of course, this is what I'm talking about. This is a real life example of my daughter, but a person who recognizes change, feels empowered to be able to do something to make change, and then will set out to actively make sure change happens. And her follow-up comment was, "I've already told a couple of the other girls that I'm working with about my idea, and they seem to like it too." So there you are. There's just a quick little story about how change can happen when you set your mind to it. Now, definitely want to acknowledge, of course, that pain is scary sometimes. And especially in these times, I feel like I'm noticing that change can be confusing, just from the point of there's so much to do. The problem's so big. We don't know where to start. We don't know where to put our resources. We're scared that we might do the wrong thing. All of those things come together and create barriers for you as you decide that change is necessary. So the question becomes, what do we do when we don't really know what to do? That is what we're trying to answer today. Now, of course, I'm going to bring science into this. It seems to be my pattern lately, but I want to talk about our body's thirst center for a second. So I think we can probably all agree that most of us are chronically dehydrated, meaning we just don't drink as much water as the experts tell us we should drink. So here we are, doing the best we can, drinking what little water we do. And all in all, we actually don't feel very thirsty. It doesn't even make sense, right? Here we are dehydrated, we need water, but yet our body's not telling us to drink more water. So what's going on here? Well, basically what our body has done is it has adapted to the dehydrated condition, and it really just stopped giving us clues that we need to drink more water because of its adaptation. Does that mean that we don't need more water? No, of course not. We need water. And the opposite is true too. I don't know if you've noticed this phenomenon in your life where there's a day where you're actually drinking a lot of water, and then all of a sudden you feel thirsty. And you're like, that doesn't even make any sense. I'm drinking more water than normal, yet I'm feeling thirsty today. But that's our body sort of reawakening to the changing conditions of having more water and telling us, hey, this is a good thing, keep doing it. So the question becomes, let's step back out and talk about behavioral change again. The question becomes, what sort of real life sensors do we have? Kind of like the thirst sensor in our brain with water intake. What do we have externally that we can use as these sort of sensors or progress markers as we start to implement change in our life? And I would like to talk about a handful of them that we can use. Of course, you know, as far as real life sensors go, when we're trying to make change, recognize and be aware that there are often more negative progress markers out there in the form of other people being critical perhaps of the changes you're trying to implement. Then there may be positive markers at first, but you keep at it and you'll see those positive markers occurring in your life as well. So let's jump in and talk about exactly what those are. Now remember, the changes that we're trying to make here are, it's this thing I'm calling life-changing change. So it's like deep down in the core, you know, long-term, deep, abiding change is what we're after. So let's talk about these progress markers. The first one is that you have a clear vision about the changes that you're trying to make. I've sort of been hammering this the last few weeks, that you set yourself up for success or failure before you even begin to change, just by the vision that you set forth, the roadmap to change that you set forth. And so having this clear vision, what do you want your future to look like? What does it look like? What are you doing? What kinds of things are happening in your future? Those are one of the progress markers. If you can have that really clear vision, then you're probably already on the path to change. Another progress marker, I'm going to call it believe in the benefit, commit to the cost. So if you are just changing for the sake of change, you're changing because people are telling you you need to change, that is not going to be enough motivation for you to believe in the benefits of the change and make the changes at all. You need to figure out the changes that you want to make because you believe in them. You believe they're needed. You believe that it's a good thing for you. And so you believe in those benefits, and that helps you accomplish that change. Commit to the cost. You absolutely have to always know that change is, it requires work, right? I'm going to decrease my volume here. I'm getting some notifications. Sorry about that. You absolutely have to commit to the fact that change is going to require you to do some work. And so you commit to that. You commit to knowing that it's going to be hard, and it's going to require you to do things that you're different than you've been doing them so far. Third progress marker I want to talk about. Live outside your comfort zone. Change requires us to do something different. And oftentimes we're doing what we've been doing because it's what's comfortable for us. And so stepping outside of that is going to have to be a feeling that you get used to. If what you're doing to implement change is making you feel a little uncomfortable, it feels a little different, that is a progress marker that change is actually happening. Fourth, baby steps are still steps, and baby steps in the right direction is progress. People understand that change and progress is often 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's just how it goes. And that's not a bad thing, because those 1 step back can oftentimes teach us that we need to do something different. There are lessons in the failure as well. So that's the fourth progress marker, that you're feeling like you're making progress, and you may also at moments feel like you're taking a step back. Fifth, you live as if the outcome has already occurred. So you've heard that phrase, fake it till you make it, and sometimes that doesn't really feel very authentic for people. So that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that if you have that clear vision of what the future is supposed to look like, what you are working toward creating, then you do the things that future you is going to do. You say the things that future you would say, and you respond to people and circumstances the way future you would respond. That is what it's about. It's living as if the outcome has already happened. And if you find yourself doing that, change is happening. Now, I have a thought here, and that is that this life-changing change, this long-term to our core change that we're looking to create in our lives, has to happen inside of us before it can happen outside of us. We need to change our minds and our hearts. And when we do that, our behavior will change. And through that process, we oftentimes can also loop our arms with others and inspire others to change right along with us. You know, the absolute worst outcome here would be that the confusion, not knowing what to do and not knowing what direction to change, or just the scary feelings that accompany change would paralyze you and cause you to step back and disengage from the conversation at all. That you would decide that change is just not worth the effort. That would be the worst possible outcome. So use those progress markers that we talked about to give yourself more motivation to make more changes. Remember, we don't just decide to change for change's sake. That's not the point here. What we're doing is we're changing because we see the need and we decide we want to change. And change is not a process, is not a single event. You know, it's not a one-time yes or no, check the box thing that happens there. It is a process. And so keep at it. I know that you have it within you to accomplish the change that you desire. I'm Dr. Lee Burge, and thanks for watching today.